A ver, buenas tardes. Nuevamente estamos aún con nuestro evento Polaris Controls Live 2023. Este es el evento número 15 del día. Llevamos desde las 9 de la mañana. Apenas son las 5 de la tarde aquí en la hora este. Estamos en la ciudad de Miami, la capital del sol. Con nosotros se encuentra la señora Robin Roy de la empresa Lynn o Techlogix o NSI, dependiendo de la marca. NSI es la empresa matriz de varias compañías, incluyendo Platinum Tools, incluyendo Techlogix, incluyendo Lynn Industries. Así que Robin es experta haciendo terminaciones de fibra óptica y experta en todo lo que es la distribución de señal a través de diferentes métodos como la fibra. Nos está dando una demostración de cómo se hace el procedimiento de terminación de fibra óptica. Robin, thank you for joining us. I apologize for the Spanish. I did a little intro on you, gave them a little bit of your background, and I'm going to turn it over to you so that you can present and do your showcase there. Any questions, let me know.
Thank you. I am Robin Roy, and I am with NSI Industries Building Technologies Division, specifically working with Techlogix, Platinum Tools, and Lynn products. So today, I'm going to share with you the tools that are involved or included in our termination kit and proper technique for terminating a manual mechanical connector onto our fiber product. To share my camera now. Fantastic. So in our fiber termination kit from Techlogix, this would be the Eco Term K-01 part. What we have involved in our kit, in our case, we have a cleave. Actually, basically a diamond glass cutting blade, as you can see here. Diamond glass cutter blade right there. It also is a measuring jig. So these are the two most important components in the involved with basically our product, fiber product, but the important is that it is the diamond glass cutting blade. Also included in our termination kit is our Kevlar shears. Now, these are not regular scissors.
We're having a little trouble with your audio. It comes, it gets in and out, Robin.
Apologize. That's probably because I'm looking down in my, so I'll try to speak louder. So did you hear the part on the cleave? So this is a cleave, which is a diamond glass cutting blade, and also a measuring jig. So that's the two important factors that are included in what you look for on a good cleave. And we'll come back to this in a moment. So the next item in our termination kit is our Kevlar shears. These are not regular scissors. These are indeed meant just for Kevlar. As you can see, our fiber has Kevlar fibers in the jacketing, and so these shears are specific for those fibers. The next item in our termination kit are our 3-hole strip. I like our 3-hole stripper tool. This specifically as they are perfect. They give you the pictures of the different diameters of fiber that we're going to be trimming, but they also give them to you on the handle of the stripper tool. Allen wrench hole there so that if you have to loosen it, tighten it, you are able to do that. So that is our 3-hole stripper tool that comes in our kit. The next item termination kit is our VFL, that stands for Visual Fault Locator. This is not only good for assisting you with putting the terminations on, but also it's your first line of testing, because if you're not getting the red light through your fiber, you know that you have not made a connection or that your fiber is broken. So the VFL is important because it's your first line of testing. The way we make sure we have down and we want to look for that circular motion. If you see that, then your VFL is good to go and it's not broken internally. So I'll set that aside. The next item that is in our termination kit is our ruler, because although we give you the measurements for packaging, that's not always the case, and you will need a ruler so that if the sleeve that you're using does not have this measuring jig, you have a backup. So that's what that is for. Our kit also comes with an adapter for the VFL. So the VFL tip is natively a SC connection size. So if we want to do an LC connector, we'll need an adapter. I'm showing you there are two different types. They both function exactly the same. They just look differently. So I believe this is the one that comes with the kit. And so basically it just is the adapter. It does screw on to the end of our VFL. I'm going to go ahead and do that now because we're going to be using this with an LC connector. And as you can see, I'm just screwing it on to the end of the VFL, and I'm going to leave that dust cap on there and set that aside because we'll be using that in a moment. Next in our termination kit is our handy dandy Sharpie. You will use this every single time you make a termination because we will have to mark onto the fiber the measurements so that we know where to strip to. So we give you a Sharpie, but I would keep one on hand. Next in our termination kit is our alcohol bottle. We use isopropyl alcohol. You can get that at any drugstore, and you just want to make sure you have that on hand because it's super important to keep all of your fiber and your connectors clean. Word to the wise, if you carry the alcohol in your termination kit, you want to put it in a Ziploc bag to protect your kit because alcohol will evaporate and it will rust your tools. As you can see here, that's exactly what has happened to my tools. So you want to protect your tools by putting your alcohol in a Ziploc. Just a pro tip there. The last part that is in our termination kit are chem wipes. Chem wipes is super important with keeping your fiber clean. You want to use these with the alcohol. They do not have any fiber on there that's going to transfer to your fiber. You know, they don't give you debris that's going to transfer to your fiber. And so that's very important when you're doing your terminations. So that is all of the parts that come in the termination kit. So now I'm going to show you two different types of fiber, and then I'm going to show you some examples of connectors. So one type of fiber that we offer is called duplex. So that is a duplex is this is an example of that, where you have two jackets that are bound together, and they call it either a duplex. Sometimes they refer to, but this is duplex. So this is more used for patch cables or short runs. I don't recommend this for long runs because it can, as you see, bend over and kink, causing your fiber to break. So that is a duplex cable. And I'm going to come back to that in a moment and explain the connectors to you.
What is a good application for a duplex cable?
Patch cables or very short runs.
Okay, excellent.
Your own patch cables, that's, you know, that would be preferred. The next type of one that's most generally used is distribution. And distribution cable is called this because it can have 2, 6, 12, 24, 120. It can all be in one jacket. That's distribution cable. Okay, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to use this for doing our termination, but I'll show you as an example right now. I usually measure off about that much of the cable, and I'm going to to it where we can talk a little bit more about the construction of the cable. So I took off the outer jacket. Inside we have the Kevlar fibers that I mentioned with Kevlar shears. And then this happens to be a 2-strand of fiber. Now, if you have 6 strands, 12 strands, it's still going to be in one jacket. And that is what's considered our distribution. Okay. Now, likewise on a duplex, there is only, so this has the same fibers, but where this is in one jacket, this would be one fiber in one jacket and one fiber in the other. So that's why it's called a duplex, where this is distribution. Questions with that, Ariel? Next part of this, I'm going to show you the connectors that work with these fibers. One thing I'll also mention is that this in particular is a multi-mode fiber, and you can tell that usually has a teal jacket, has a yellow jacket, or we happen to offer either in a black jacket. The way you can tell the difference for sure is by reading fiber. We do print the information on all of our jacketing. So it will say Techlogix Ecofiber OFNP, which stands for Optical Fiber Non-Conductive Plenum. Then we tell you how many strands. In this one, it says it is a 2 fiber. And then we give you a foot marker. That foot marker allows you to measure. It changes every 2 feet. So if you don't know the length you have, you can collect this data from one end and the foot marker from the other end and do the math, and you know how long your run is. So that's on every one. Then we go on, we proceed down, and it tells you that it is plus Corning. That is good for you to know, because then if you ever have to do a fusion splice or have it certified for fusion splicing, the fact that it's Corning, you know that it is eligible to do that. That's valuable information. And then at the end of that printing, it tells you that it is a 9-125. That stands for, the 9 tells you it is fiber. If it was multi-mode, it would say it is a 50-125. And I'll see if I can show you. No, this one doesn't have, yeah, it does have printing on here. And as you can see here, it tells you it is a 50. Sorry, that's not focusing. 50-125.
Excellent.
If you don't know which is which, if you don't, not sure if this is, because that's super important, you can read this. And if you have a 50, it's multi-mode. And if you have a 9, as I said, that's a single mode. Now, moving on to the connectors, why that is important information is because the connectors are very specific. If you have single mode fiber, you need to use single mode connector. Same with multi-mode. If you have multi-mode fiber, you need to use multi-mode connectors mixed, because the core sizes are completely different. Which is super small, like a coffee straw, is single mode. That's why these have to match it. If it's larger, the 50 micron, like, like a drinking straw, imagine, then it needs the multi-mode, and they do not mix. Show you an example of both. These happen to be SC connectors. There is 2 types that you're going to run into most often. That is an SC and an LC. Now, these both work with single mode fiber. As you can see, they're dark blue. The difference is the size. Okay. And so I'm going to take off this is called a boot. Each one has a boot. This is an SC and this is an LC. That just stands for subscriber and for Lucent. They function exactly the same. The only difference is the size and the equipment that you're plugging into. That's why there's 2 different sizes, is because the equipment decides that. So on the description connectors, we have a window that will allow you to see the fiber matching up inside of there. There's a gel filling in there, and then it's the same on both. And then we also have an opening jig. You will keep a few of these for future reference, because if you ever have to open your connector back up, you just push that back in and it will open it back up. Then on the end of the connectors, we have what's referred to as a dust cap. It is super important to keep the dust cap on if you are not using the connector, because we do not want our connectors or our fiber to dirt. Now on the SC connector, as I said, the main difference here is the size. Because these are so much bigger, we do also give you what's called buildup tubes. They come in different diameters, and it doesn't matter which one you use. You just want it to be comfortable on your fiber and not squeeze it or bend or cause any restriction. So that is buildup tubes, and those come with the SC connector. But what is about the SC and the LC connector is that they use exactly the same measurements. As you can see here on Techlogix gives you the measurements on the packaging. So it gives you, as you can see, they're exactly the same measurements for both connectors. So what I show you now will work for either one. So I'm going to set this aside because we're not going to, and we're going to concentrate on the LC connector. As I said, this is the LC connector. I've already taken off the opening jig, and this is the boot. I'm going to take my VFL, take the dust cap off. Remember, we already put the adapter on, so now I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to remove the dust cap and add it onto the end of the VFL. So I'm going to set that aside because we're not going to use it right yet. Get our length of fiber that we have already taken the jacket off of. So I'm going to take these 2 strands of fiber and I'm going to lay them down onto the jacketing here so that I can make my measurements. But as you notice, I'm leaving a little bit extra off of the end of the packaging. What I find is when I start to strip the jacketing, if I give myself a little extra room, it allows me an opportunity to get the feel of the strippers cutting down on less accidental, snipping the fiber. So I like having a little bit of area, if you will. So I'm just going to my Sharpie. That's all I need that for. And now I'm going to move my packaging aside because I don't need that any longer. But you can see here that I have my Sharpie marks on my fiber. So I'm going to use the orange one so that you can see it better. And I'm going to go ahead, because I don't need this in this application, snip that Kevlar string out of my way and dispose of that. So I'm going to take my orange fiber and I'm going to add my boot onto my fiber. Okay, so now I'm ready to prepare the fiber for cleaving. So I'm going to second hole. Here you can see on the handle, it says it's the 250 micron. That's the second hole. And I'm only going to take about, and all I'm going to do is work my way down to the first Sharpie mark. But what I want to do, I don't want to and start at the first Sharpie mark because it's subject to damage the fiber, and I don't want to do that. So best practice is to come in at about 10 millimeters, grab a hold of it, and then just yank it. As you can see, it pulled the jacketing off, and you can see the fiber with no problem. Try to focus that a little bit better. There. So I'm just going to repeat that over and over until I get down to that first black mark. So I'm just going to grab it, clamp down, and yank. See there? Just down and yank. You don't want to go too slow and you don't want to rush it. You just want to grab down and pull. Nice and easy. And you want to just work your way down till you get to that first black mark. And there's a reason why we do it this. Because, and I'll show you quickly here, if I come in with my third hole strip and I pull, you can see that there is a coating on there. And now you can see the difference in the bare fiber in that coating. And we will need that coating in a moment. But I want you to see that there is another coating there that we are trying to protect. And that's why we strip that fiber off a little bit at a time, because it will allow you to do that without removing that coating. So now we're going to come in. We need to remove that layer of coating. We're going to come in on our third hole and we're going to steadily pull. And as you can see, that debris coming off of there is that 125 micron. Shows you it's 125 micron layer. So now we have our fiber. And as you can see, there's a little bits back on here. That's okay. Just feel it and it'll come right off. So now we have our raw fiber. We've removed the outer coating, the 250 micron, and we've removed the 125 micron coating. That's what we need, because this fiber will not cleave if that layer is not removed. bring in our measuring jig and our diamond cutting blade cleave, and where we had measured down to the first black mark, we're going to lay that on, because if you look at that measuring jig, that first mark there is 10 millimeters. And if you recall packaging, we marked our fiber jacketing at the 10 millimeter mark. So that's what we're matching that up there, equal to that. So now we just close this, and we're going to close the outer cover and cleave. Now, once we do that, as you can see, it cut that fiber off. We want to put it in our disposal can here, because although our fiber is safe to work with, we want to be respectful, because it is glass and it can get in your finger or your eye. So you always want to be careful and dispose of it properly. So now we have 10 millimeters of raw bare fiber. So we're going to come back in with our stripper tool on that middle 250 micron layer in the center. And again, we're going to clamp down and pull. Now, the reason this is where it comes in handy that we do it in that fashion, because as you can see, there's the bare fiber, and then that 125 micron layer is still on there. And we need that layer in this portion because it will act as strain relief. So I'm clamping down and pull. Now I have my 125 micron layer, and then I have 10 millimeters of bare fiber. So now we are ready to put the connector on. So this is where we take our chem wipes and our alcohol, and we come in and we're going to wash that fiber. Here, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to wash it, because if you don't clean it, all of the debris, oil, anything off of your fingers or anything off of your surface is going to be on your fiber. And the number one cause of loss is dirty fiber or dirty connections. So we want to make absolutely sure that everything is clean. And I'm going to talk. But now that we have our clean fiber, we have our boot on here, our connector is connected to our VFL, and we're going to come in with our fiber. And this window, what we're looking for is a change in the light. You want to look for it to dim or change. You're not trying to make the fiber bend, nothing like that. We're just trying to see a change. And once that happens, and you will audibly hear it click, but you also feel it. Fiber into this connector. And as you see there, that light changes. See that change? Then we're just going to, and you heard it click. And then we're going to pull up our boot. And that's it. Our connection is made. Now, like I said, our VFL is our first line of testing. So we see that we made a connection, but then when we come in and look at the other end, we see that we have a light coming all the way through. So that VFL is our first tester that tells us, yes, we are getting a light through to the other end. Now, what if I already have a connector on the other end and the dust cap is missing? Before I plug this into anything, I would use one of my cleaning pens. It's super important, like I said, to wash everything. You want to make sure everything's clean. So if you have a dust cap on it, you want to come in with your cleaning pen and you want to clean that end. So all you're going to do is plug it in and you'll hear it click once, and that is clean. So now you are ready to plug it into your equipment or return the dust cap. So it's super important to keep everything clean, but now we have a completed terminated fiber with connector. Any questions?
No, you make it seem so easy. Probably practice makes perfect.
Yeah.
I would say this is really an exercise on practice. The more you practice it, the easier it's going to be, just like terminating RJ45s. The first 10 ones that you ever make are going to be the toughest ones, and then it gets easier as you go along.
That is true. And what I would encourage you is just to get a length of fiber. Our fiber connectors can be reused up to 5 times. So that measure or that opening jig that we removed to be able to make the connection, you can just slide it back on to the back of the connector. I'll show you how really, oh, I dropped it. You put it back on, there's some little teeth there. You'll hear it click. It clicked. I remove the boot and the fiber just falls right out. Excellent. And then I'm ready to redo it. So you can practice with these several times and it would still be a good connector, but you don't want to use it in the field over 5 times, you know, over 5 practice times. But yes, you can remove it and practice several times. You just, if you do that, you want to make sure you clean with your alcohol wipes and clean. If you leave the dust caps off, make sure you're using those pen cleaners because so much loss happens because items are not properly cleaned.
Sure. Are you going to be at CEDIA in 3 weeks?
I haven't been told yet, possibly, but we will have a booth there. We're going to be right next to, I believe, Crestron is, so our booth is right next to Crestron, but our team will be there. We'll be demoing not only fiber, but we'll also be connectors and stripper tools. Yes, from Platinum Tools. Right. So if you have any questions or, you know, if you get to come to CEDIA, please come by and visit us at the booth. We would love to show you what we have. Yeah, well, thank you very much, Robin. It's great interacting with you. We will do more of these more often. We took a little break for some time. Our YouTube channel is quite active. We have almost 1,000 subscribers now. All these subscribers are from Latin America and the Caribbean. Most of them speak Spanish. And this is something that we like to do to keep everyone informed on best practices. So thank you very much. You're so welcome. It was my pleasure. Great. We'll see you soon. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.